Hello everybody, this is going to be a really quick video that will go over the work for week number 2. So by now you should have watched the videos for lecture number 1 covering chapter 1 from the first week, and then you should have seen announcements about choosing your service learning options. So you should get that to me by midnight on Sunday, this Sunday. And you should then, if you are chosen to be in one of the other service learning options, then we'll sort of just deal with that separately. But if you're doing the change proposal, you're going to identify your topic for the change proposal and let us know about that. I will set up something that you will describe that. It will probably be by email also. I will send out an announcement for that because I will want all my different sections doing that at the same time. So sometime around Monday or Tuesday this week, you'll get an announcement about sending me your topic for the change proposal if that's what you're going to be doing for your service learning option. And then what we'll do is I'll work with the TAs and see if there's possible group mates for that project. And so we'll deal with that type of stuff this week. And then also this week I want to set up the assignment for next week, which is the study review paper. So for the study review paper, you're going to be finding an article, an empirical article, a research article that you are going to review for this assignment. And so what I'm going to say is that I strongly suggest that your article that you choose will be the thing that you're doing for service learning. So if you're doing one of the other options, it should be related to that. Or if you're doing the change proposal, which is most people, do an article that's related to your topic. So you might not choose your topic or your article until later this week. But once you know what your topic will be for your service learning / change proposal, then you can start looking for articles in the library. If you don't know how to find articles in the library, you should talk to some reference librarians. I believe that they do live chat now online. But most of you in this class are quite experienced students, so I actually imagine that you know how to look up articles. The basic rule is that it should be a developmental article, so something that has to do with development, and obviously you want it to be related to your topic that you're going to be doing for your service learning change proposal. And it has to be empirical, so it has to be research that collects data. And I'm going to ask you to send me the citation and the abstract for the article for me to approve it. So you need to get pre-approval to select your article for this assignment. And so please send me just the citation. The citation is the author, title of the article, the journal that it's published in, the year, that type of stuff. So the stuff that you would cite in references in APA style, that's the citation. And then send me the abstract. The abstract is just that little bit in the first part of it that summarizes the study. Don't send anything more. Don't send me links. Links usually don't work. Links only work for when you do your search. If you send me a link, typically if I click that, it will be dead. So if you send me something that's not just the title, the citation and the abstract, I'm not going to even respond to it. I'm sorry about that. It might sound nasty, but if a bunch of people send me stuff that's wrong and I end up having to write each time, please send me this or that, if you don't hear back from me, it means that you sent me something that's not proper. So again, send me just the citation and the abstract. Cut and paste those into an email. Send that to me. Do not send links. Do not send in more information. Just send me what I need, please. So let's go to what that assignment actually is. And so here is the syllabus description of it. So it's worth 50 points. And what it is it's going to be this paper that is 4 pages, and that's double spaced and 12-point font, standard font. Don't use funky, weird fonts. So 12-point standard font, double spaced, 4 pages. And there's essentially 4 parts to your paper. So the first part, you want to summarize the article in your own words. And so summarize the article in your own words, and that is very clearly stated there. Do not just sort of say what they say. Don't use their words. Use your understanding of the article. And so here it says keep the parts of the empirical article covered in class in mind. And so what I'll say is in terms of reading this article, and you are probably a pretty experienced student, so you probably can read it in some more depth than, let's say, an intro student. But basically there's 4 parts to the article. There's the introduction, that is the theoretical and conceptual underpinnings of the study. And so that will present things like the research question. It will review the literature that has been done on that research question previously. That review of the literature should emphasize theories and concepts that help explain the hows and whys. So why is this stuff happening? Why are these variables related? How are these variables correlated or influence each other? So pay attention to those types of arguments. If it's something about a treatment program or a prevention program, since you might be doing this for your change proposal, it should discuss the reasons why certain strategies or certain change processes happen. So why do some intervention programs work and why do others not work? Or what are those things about intervention or prevention that work? So that's just an example, but it could be just a basic research study too. It doesn't have to be about a treatment of something, but if you want to do treatment, that would be fine too, as long as it's empirical. So that's the introduction, and the introduction will end with the statement of hypotheses. And then the next section, and by the way, the intro you should read in big detail. So the intro is one of the most important parts for you to read in the article, so you should read it in some detail. And then the second part of the article that you're reading is called method. So the method section is about the way that the researcher collected the data. So who they collected data on, how they got the data. So they'll describe that. In terms of reading that part of the article, I'll say read it to understand it. But don't read it for fine details in the sense that if you find that some of it's very technical, don't worry about the technicalities. Know just in general who they got the data from and how they got their data. And then the third part of the article that you'll be reading will be labeled results. The results section is very technical. That is the statistical analyses of the data. And what I would say is for this course, you do not need to read that. If you've taken statistics and you feel like you want to read it, go ahead, go for it, but it's not required. So some people may not have the technical skills to read the results section. So I don't want you wasting your time and frustrating yourselves if you don't understand it. So you don't need to read it. And then the discussion is the last part. So the discussion is taking the findings from the statistical analyses and interpreting them via the theory and concepts and arguments in the introduction. So the discussion gives meaning to the data that were analyzed in the results. So, and again, that interpretation is framed in relationship to what was discussed in the introduction. So just like the introduction, the discussion is really important to read in detail. So again, to summarize, introduction, conceptual underpinnings for the research, read that carefully. Method, how the researcher collected their data, read that for understanding but not for details. Results, statistical analyses of the data, you don't need to read that at all. And then discussion, taking those statistical findings and giving them meaning via the theory and concepts that were discussed in the introduction. Discussion should be read in fine detail. You should understand the discussion well. So that's how you should read the article. And then when you summarize the article, you sort of want to summarize those parts. So you want to summarize essentially what the research question was, what the conceptual argument behind the research is. in summary, again, you're not going to go into fine detail. And then you're going to say a little bit about how the data were collected, who they were collected from. And then you're going to talk about what the findings indicated. And again, this summary is in your own words. This summary should be less than 1 page. If you go over 1 page, you're spending too much time on the summary. Part number 2 of your paper is critiquing the methodology. So look at how they collected their data and critique it in both ways. Critique it for positive aspects as well as limitations of what they did. I suggest that this part should be a half a page to a page, but no more than that. So it could be as little as a half a page, or it could be a full page if you feel like it's relevant. Part number 3, this is a big part, so explore some insights you gained about development from the article. So how persons develop, risk in development, how can you promote optimal development, this type of thing. So it's things, ideas, insights that you had when you read the article. And some of these insights could be related to things that you might want to do for your change proposal or related to your service learning project. This part would be minimum of a page, but it probably is more likely like a page and a half, I'd say roughly. So minimum 1 page, page and a half. And we're talking about concise, finely edited writing, not sort of general stuff. So 1 to 1.5 pages for part number 3 there. And part number 4 is trying to extend the conclusions of the findings. So think about how you might extend the findings in terms of how you might do some future research or how you might explore this in your project. So here again, this is where your project comes in, your service learning project or your change proposal. So are there things here that you would like to extend more and explore in your service learning project / change proposal? And I'd say that would be a bare minimum of a half a page, but it could be a page depending on how much you want to talk about that. So those are the parts of the paper. So cover those 4 things. And obviously, where I'd say is if you can make the summary more concise, that would benefit you because that gives you more space to write about number 3 and 4, because number 3 and 4 are mainly the thinking parts of the paper, the deep thinking parts, and that's where a lot of your grade will be determined. And what I'll say is also, when you write papers and you submit it to stuff like Blackboard, don't put headings. I already know who you are. I know what class it's for. I know it's for this assignment. So don't put your name in one line and then the next name is this class. The next name it says study review paper. The next line it gives a date. Don't do that. So don't put any headers whatsoever. You don't even need to put a title. I know what this thing is. It's the study review paper. Why? Because, for one, you're submitting this through Blackboard. You don't need that information. It's redundant. Also, I want you to save space on your paper for you to write your ideas. So again, no headers, no titles. Get straight to the writing. Okay, so that's the study review paper, and I think that pretty much wraps up the work for week 2. So basically for week 2, for the study review paper, you want to choose your topic, your article for the study review paper midweek, later in the week perhaps, and then the study review paper will be due next week. And I'm thinking about the due date for that. So for you, I would say that the due date is probably going to be around Tuesday night next week. And so check Blackboard to confirm the due date, but I'm going to put it around Tuesday night at around midnight, 1 minute before midnight, would be my guess, but double check on Blackboard. So that's your work for week number 2, and then a little bit of work into week number 3. And I will talk to you next on the lecture for week number 3. If you have any questions, let me know by email or come to my office hours.